Happy New Year and welcome to the first episode of Weekly Roundup 2024.
Happy New Year, Happy New Year. How are you guys doing? How was your New Year?
Well, technically speaking, we will be talking about last year's news, right?
Yes.
Because we are just entering into 2024. But while we thought that the final week of December should be a quiet and peaceful week.
Typically a bit slower the news.
Yeah, but last week wasn't really so peaceful after all. There are so many things that happened.
So many things the last couple of weeks. Politics and also in business, of course. That's what the coffee break brings. Politics and business news for you.
Yeah, and if you would like to keep yourself updated with the latest news, don't forget to sign up the Coffee Break newsletter with the link in the description below.
Subscribe.
So without further ado, let's go straight into our first news of the day, right? Well, it seems like ice cream business is getting a lot of attention in the business world lately, right? Previously, Farm Fresh bought two ice cream brands, Inside Scoop and also Sinwa, the ice cream potong. And this time around, another ice cream company held by this company called Scoop Capital. They own Baskin-Robbins in Malaysia. They bought into Apollo Food Holdings Bhd, which is a listed company on Bursa Malaysia.
That Apollo, the one where usually...
The shortcake Apollo.
The one we had in school lah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
But why would ice cream buy...
Okay, I don't know what's the real reason why Scoop Capital wants to buy Apollo Holdings, but based on my guesstimate, I would think that it's one way for them to get listed on Bursa Malaysia. Now, you see, in order to get yourself listed, there are a couple of ways. One is through the traditional, the conventional method, where you go to the investment bank and you say, hey, I would like to apply for an IPO. And they would advise you how to do it.
And the process is quite long, right?
The
it doesn't
process is
start
quite long.
immediately. You have to clean up your accounts, clean up your numbers,
Correct.
do the investor relations and whatnot.
Correct. It can run 1 to 2 years to get it done, right? The faster way to do it is to acquire another distinctly listed company on Bursa Malaysia. That way, you don't need to go through the lengthy process. All you need is money.
Which this guy have because they've bought 51.3%.
Yeah, for 238.1 million ringgit cash. So that's how much money they have, right? So after they bought 51.3% stake in Apollo Food Bhd, immediately they are going to trigger the mandatory takeover offer, which means to say they have to offer to buy out the remaining stake that they don't own in Apollo Food, the remaining 49%, right? But having said that, they intend to keep the company listed. I mean, of course, right? Why would you want to buy a company and then delist it? Then might as well don't buy the company, right? So they intend to keep the company listed. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to apply for an exemption to the Securities Commission. And then from there, they can start to do their own fundraising in the future.
So it's also a possibility that Scoop Capital trying to cash out through this way. Is that right?
No, it's the other way around.
Okay.
So Scoop Capital is buying in.
Right.
But the existing controlling shareholder of Apollo Food, which is Keynote Capital, they are cashing out. So they are exiting the company and Scoop Capital is coming in.
Okay. Sorry, my understanding was that the Scoop Capital guys want to go listing instead.
Yes, they are. But in this case, they are buying into this company so that in the future, when they want to do corporate exercises, they can use this Apollo Food entity as the vehicle to do their corporate exercise.
Today I learned new things.
So, just a little bit of background of Apollo, right? As a publicly listed company, it has been profitable over the years and it pays quite a healthy dividend as well. It pays more than 4% dividend yield. And the company has recorded a net profit of close to 10 million ringgit for the second quarter FY 2024. And they have made 17.6 million ringgit for the first half of 2024.
From just selling wafers and of course all those confectionery snacks that kids used to eat.
Kids love Apollo, right?
Your kids, do they?
Yeah, they like it.
I mean, we grew up in school with it lah. So
correct.
So you know the whole chicken subsidy that was recently rationalized. So now talking about chicken, so you know about the whole chicken subsidy that was being removed by the government. I think it was probably back in October when we discussed this. So MCC, the Malaysia Competition Commission, has fined 5 feed millers. They were Leong Hap International's wholly owned subsidiary, Leong Hap Feed Mill Malaysia, Malaysian Flour Mills, partially owned Dinding's Poultry Development Centres in Bhd, and PPB Group's 80% owned FFM Bhd, Gold Coin Feed Mills, which is under the Gold Coin Group, and a PK Agro Industrial Products, which is under the Cherion Pop Hen Holdings Malaysia Sdn Bhd. The last one is the subsidiary of a Thai conglomerate and this marks the largest fine of 415 million in MyCC's history. Yeah, so what they were fined for was the penalty actually came from this anti-competitive agreements between these entities, right? So what they did was they went behind closed doors, right? I mean, anti-competitive, like usually, like, you know, you have to be in the same room, have this discussion, or be in Zoom. Like today, you have to be in Zoom, right? Or any other form of video calls, and you say like, oh, we have to set the price of the feed meal, which in turn then affect the price of the poultry, right? So the investigation by MyCC revealed there were simultaneous price hikes on the feed meal, despite the raw material cost went down.
Because if you think about it, the most important ingredient to rear a chicken is the feed meal, right? Is the things that the chicken eat. If the feed meal is expensive, then of course the price of chicken will be expensive. Right. So that's how they were accused to manipulate the chicken prices. Right.
Yeah. So these companies have 30 days to appeal the decision. Whatever they have done, it indicates a collusive behavior. So MCC imposed this fine, but these companies can appeal.
In fact, I think Leong Hub is already appealing. And to a certain extent, it's hard to say who's at fault here because, you know, industry players outside of business, everyone knows each other, right? Sometimes you will meet up each other and discuss things, and then you would exchange information, right? Yep. But whether you come together and you do a cartel out of it, that is something MyCC has to go and investigate, right?
Representatives from this 5 company, were they really present in the same room? That's something MyCC have to prove,
But appearing in the same room doesn't mean that they...
Correct. Yeah. Correct. So there must have been some news that MyCC led on and then investigate and came up with this conclusion. It'd be interesting to see what actually pans out for these guys. So talk about these illegal activities, right? MCC last week, in the last 2 weeks of the year, actually seized Ilham Tower, a 60-story skyscraper that is reportedly linked to Daim Zainuddin and his family. And it was such a big hoo-ha news that it's like, wow, you seize the entire tower. You seize an office, maybe people here before, seize the entire tower seems quite extreme, right? So the MACC chief, Azam Baki, stated the seizure was aimed to prevent asset sales during that ongoing investigation and assured that it wouldn't actually disrupt the tower's operations. So actually, this is because MCC is currently investigating Tun Daim. And it was alleged that Tun Daim didn't want to cooperate with MACC, didn't want to disclose his source of wealth, hence led to the seizure, right? And PM, of course, because this is a very high-profile case that involved a former finance minister. So Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim then came and said, okay, there's no hidden agenda. This seizure just means that the agency's actions actually demonstrate an impartial investigation.
But Daim didn't think like that. He said that this is a political witch hunt. He said that he is a political threat to the Prime Minister who must be discredited. I don't know how he could do it because he is already not in the political scene for a very long time. But of course, he's still quite influential. He was one of the 5
council members.
Yes, from the Council of Eminent Persons. He was one of the 5. So maybe in that sense, he has his influence in the political scene. But apart from that...
On the front, maybe not linked, right? On the front, okay, there's no involvement, right? But at the back, maybe. And this also led to our former Prime Minister. He actually went on a limb and said, actually, Tuns should be investigated and have their property seized if they're unable to explain their source of wealth. So this must have rattled a lot of people, I assume, and a lot of his cronies. If he has come up to step out and come and say this, right? Because he himself is also a Tun.
Maybe he is also putting himself, to say that, hey, I'm
not scared. Come and investigate me. If you want to come and investigate me and my family, right? Do you know how many Tuns are there in Malaysia?
I'm not very sure, but I don't think there will be many.
Because it's the highest title. The title is actually same as a lot in the UK. So this case was reported that the tower was seized. I think it shocked a lot of people.
Well, let's go a little bit into some international news. And this has got to do with cars. You know Daihatsu? They run into scandals again.
Car scandals. Doesn't end well when car scandals.
Yeah, I still remember not too long ago there was the Volkswagen scandal, right? The emissions.
Correct.
The emission scandal. But this one, it's more about safety. So apparently they manipulated the safety test result to make the cars pass easier. And all these cars has been running around the world for more than 30 years.
Daihatsu is such a big company under
Toyota.
Under the Toyota group.
So there are a total of 64 vehicle models, including 22 sold under the Toyota brands, got affected. And it's not just confined to Japan, it's worldwide. Worldwide, Daihatsu and Toyota cars are affected.
Daihatsu produced 1.1 million vehicles in the first 10 months of the year. And they make up about 7% of Toyota sales. That's a lot of cars that has not passed safety regulations.
Yeah, and you think about it, Toyota is one of the largest car player in the world. So 7% of Toyota sales is a lot of cars.
In fact, I think last week, CNN came out to then report that Daihatsu has now stopped production at all of its 4 Japanese factories. And the company admitted that it has forged results for more than 30 years. This is even bigger than the VW one.
Correct.
But if you think like, does it impact us as a Malaysian? Actually, it does, because Daihatsu actually holds a 25% stake in Perodua. So all your MyVs, your Axias, your Alzas.
Yes, correct. So if you think that, haha, luckily I'm safe, I don't drive a Daihatsu, but if you think about it, Perodua is kind of like Daihatsu as well, right?
Yeah, like at the early stages, like when they had the MyVs and the Kalisa and the Kanchios, they were all Daihatsus.
Correct.
This is scary. But there are no news whether the factories in Malaysia or Indonesia are they impacted lah. Only the Japan.
Hard to say, because in Japan itself, right, there are 8,300 companies got affected by this production halt. So this is just Japan alone. And as we know, in Malaysia, Perodua is quite a big car brand in Malaysia itself. Yeah. And the supply chain in Malaysia is quite extensive. So I'm not too sure how many Malaysian companies are affected by this.
Wow, the past week news is really not great.
All bad news.
Oh no, we've got no good news to start the year. Oh dear, but we've got to do what we're going to do. So, a couple of weeks ago, there was a joint operation by Bukit Aman's International Security and Public Order Department called the Op Silang and they arrested 1,101 undocumented foreigners, including 2 children, due to various immigration offences. So, the police also seized about 104,000 worth of contraband. Unfortunately, they tried to run away from the police, but there were more officers than the undocumented foreigners. There were 1,138 officers.
Wow, I cannot imagine what kind of scale they were doing.
It was a big scale. Like, I think I saw videos on social media where like there were Black Marias lined up on the street, right? The sirens were on, people took videos and so like they were shocked. I think one of the local traders at Jalan Silang said the operation was the biggest stint that she has ever seen, because she has not seen so many police officers present at one point. I've never seen it. Even go concerts, there got so many police. 1,000 police, you know. But another unfortunate news is that there were some rotten apples amongst these police, right? Like 3 of them actually were arrested on suspicion of stealing 85,000 from the business premises. These guys went to do extra mile. They were supposed to catch the undocumented foreigners, but they went to steal money. Shame on them. This is still under investigation. The police received a report and it's still under investigation. Hopefully it's a misunderstanding. And on the topic of undocumented migrants, right? So there was down south in Johor, 171 Bangladeshis actually were marching to report their unfulfilled job promises. So they were brought here to Malaysia and then they didn't get a job that they were promised. 171 of them were arrested.
Wow, this is the first time Bangladeshi are stepping up for themselves. Because I don't think this is a one-off case. I mean, in the past, I've heard of people saying that there are foreigners being brought into Malaysia, but once they come here, there's actually no job for them.
No job. And actually they take loans to come to Malaysia, to pay for their visa, to get certified and all that, whatever they had to do to work. There were also, I think, stories where like foreign workers were duped to work, to do something that they weren't supposed to do. Yeah. Right? That was quite a common thing, right? So Stephen Sim, the newly appointed Human Resource Minister, actually this is not under his jurisdiction, but he stepped in to summon the employers and agencies for investigation.
Oh, good.
About time someone has to come and step in and say, hey, how are these workers even brought in the first place? Right? They didn't come in by plane or whatever by themselves, so they might have been brought in and then not given a job. That's why they're protesting, right? And Pengerang MP, because this actually happened in Pengerang, so Pengerang MP Azliana Odman actually called for an immediate investigation for the syndicate responsible for deceiving these Bangladeshis. So it's a win for these Bangladeshis because it has caught the attention of the ministers.
It's a wake-up call for all the other companies who want to employ foreign workers as well, right? Okay, last piece of news before we end today's weekly roundup. Let's talk about Top Glove, because in December we saw a surge in COVID cases again. So people are expecting glove companies to do better, right? But have a look at Top Glove's result. They are reporting the 6th consecutive quarter of net loss of 57.7 million ringgit in the first quarter of FY24. This is from a net loss of 157.6 million ringgit from a year ago. So on the bright side, the loss has narrowed from 157 to 57, but it is still making a loss.
It's still making a loss. Like this, and surprising, right? Because this company, like at the height of pandemic, everyone was like, wow. Yeah. It's a money machine, you know. The shareholders were making money off it already, and like retailers also joined in the fund and also made money from it, right?
And Top Glove is projecting to return to profitability as early as May this year, driven by increased demand in rubber gloves and also rising prices. I think that's a fair assumption, but it is an assumption, right? There are a lot of things that you need to assume in order for the rubber gloves prices to go up and the demand to go up. But the truth is, China has become a dominant player in rubber glove industry as well. So the competition is definitely stiffer compared to the past. And in order to increase prices, there's a lot that needs to be done on Top Glove and, for that matter, other glove makers as well.
I mean, unless the supplies have gone down drastically, right? Like you said, if there are more manufacturers, they're gonna just flood the market, right?
Exactly.
Can't believe that this company was one of, like, at one point, the second most valuable company in Bursa.
And Top Glove was the world's largest glove maker.
Still is, right?
Maybe. But I think their position could be challenged.
It threats from all the global players after the pandemic. They had to source their own.
Anyways, that's all we have for today's Weekly Roundup. I hope you guys enjoyed it and tell us what you think about the Weekly Roundup. Leave your comments in the box below.
Wish you a happy 2024 or 2023A.
Alright, see you guys next week. Ciao.